Welcome back to Chat Chit. It's October, which means it's way too early predictions time. In the first episode of the podcast, we predicted the ladder, Brownlow and Coleman. Now we're talking about who we see as the best players going into next year.
Exactly right. So today we're going to go through the top 25 players in the league, but we have made a list of the top 100. Why? Because we're going to look at which teams have the most players in the top 100 according to both of us. Now we have made separate lists, so we're going to chat about why we might have players higher than someone else. Maybe there's someone in the top 25 that the other person doesn't even have in the top 100. But we're going to go through it all. It will take too long to go through all 100. Just going to look at the top 25, then we're going to move on to the teams later. I reckon you kick us off with 25.
Okay, and if you haven't noticed, we hate stats and lists. Okay, in my 25th best player going into the 2024 AFL season, I've put Charlie Cameron.
Okay.
Who have you got in 25?
In 25, I've got Tom Liberatore. Ball-winning machine.
Okay, let's have a talk. We can say Tom Liberatore. I've got in my 100, obviously. Great. He had an awesome season. That was a rare situation where a player who past 30 had by far his most impressive season. So why'd you have him that high?
I've put him in 25th just because I think he's almost very underrated. Because I think he's very overshadowed by Bontempelli. So it's like, you're going to watch the Dogs, who are you going to look at? You're going to look at Bontempelli, right? You might look at Norton down forward. But who's doing the grunt work? Who's winning the ball? Who's got ridiculous contested ball winner in the middle? Who's actually giving the ball to Bontempelli? So I just think he's very overlooked and a guy that can almost win the game by himself if he's really on.
Yep, I like that call to start us off. Charlie Cameron for me, I don't know where you've got him, but
I've put him in 48th.
Really?
Actually, yes. I've put him down a bit.
We know something we've established in the past is Aiden has a big midfielder bias, which is
I love
upsets me a lot, and I hope it upsets you as well. Charlie Cameron, I think he's just explosive. He's just the epitome of an exciting small forward that is just quick and hard to handle, and he does it year after year. I think had his highest total in a home and away season last year. Came fourth in the Coleman, just surrounded by key forwards that are the main target. So he's below Toby Green though.
Yeah.
But great player. Now 24. I've got Jordan Dawson.
That low?
I've got Jordan Dawson.
Really? I won't tell you where I've got him yet because we'll get onto it. But he's obviously going to be higher than 24.
Well, if you've got Dawson,
captain at 20, was he 24 years old?
Yeah,
leading his team.
I don't see if you've got Dawson in something like 10th, then that's basically you saying he's the 10th best midfielder. I've got the 10th best midfielder in number 24. So
wow,
I actually count other players
in
as
24th. Wow,
you'll just see. He's a phenomenal player. When you're getting to the top 25 players in the league, to me, all these guys
one
are
of the top kicks in the league.
Yeah,
6'3".
He's the
winning ball.
He's the elite of the elite.
All right. Well, I've got Sam Taylor in 24. I know you're a big fan. You've probably got him high. We'll see. But I've put him in 24th. Unbelievable defender. As we've already established, I have a huge bias towards midfielders. And just going to stick with my gut. Sam Taylor in 24th.
Okay.
Part of one of the best defenses in the league. Still young. Lots of improvement to come.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
You guys can't see, obviously, but I'm shaking my head furiously. I think let's make an effort not to fight with each other over every pick, but let's just say you will hear Sam Taylor's name again and in a very long time. 23. Who have you got?
I've gone with Connor Rozee. Could have been higher, but like we talked about in the previous podcast, the Port are very reliant on both him and Butters. He's dragged his team to consecutive victories, dragged his team to finals. Very, very exciting young player. Lot to come from him, and can impact a game by himself. And that's why I'm a bit biased with midfielders. I look at the players that really impact and win games by themselves. Yes. And I know you don't like it. I know you're hard on the defenders. You love a good forward, but honestly, a guy that can win a game by himself, and if he plays well, the team's probably going to win. I'm looking to that. So I've got that's my 23. What about you?
Yeah, you'll. Again, I think we agree that that's probably on the lower end of where you could place Rozee. So I'll talk more about him later. But yeah, so smooth in the midfield he is. I've got Tim English in 23.
Wow.
Just had a one of the breakout years of the AFL last year, with out of all the players in the league. Just really dominant ruckman. But the thing was, it's ruckman typically find it difficult just to be that consistent, just because the AFL game takes a massive toll on the body for someone that large. But he was just so impressively consistent and all over the ground. He was good and solid in the ruck, but where he impresses the most is around the ground.
Well, I've got him at 36, but I can see how he would be a lot higher. He's still pretty youngish for a ruckman, as they take a while to sort of come into their game. But yeah, I'm not disappointed with that pick.
Okay.
I think we'll move straight on. I'll say in 22nd I've got Caleb Sarong.
Oh, I thought we might have the same guy in 22. I've got Tom Green in 22.
Right. Okay. So Caleb Sarong, a guy who's playing in a very underperforming Fremantle Dockers, but has definitely been one of the shining stars. A player, also again, very young player, again a midfielder, and again a player that's going to be huge for them if they want to move towards a premiership in the future. I'm not going to say too much more. Wins a lot of ball, can win a game by himself, and I'll throw it over to you.
Sarong's so right. I've got him in 34.
Wow.
No, great player.
Take it back. Sarong, so right. Wow. Okay, just move on.
By the way, that's one of my favourite commentary calls ever. Maybe the best TV commentary call, because the obvious best call was on the radio, the Zaharakis Anzac Day 2011.
Absolutely pissing down here. All right, we'll get to that at some point.
Okay, but Tom Green in 22. I know you'll have him higher, but he was my prediction for the Brownlow, and I think he's just developing into an absolutely elite midfielder. I think he'll be higher on this list at the October next year. He's just so impressive, and he's just so strong, hard to take down.
Did you have Sarong higher?
I'm 34th.
Oh, 34th. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
All right. 21st.
You go. I'll let you throw it.
21st, someone that you probably didn't even cross your mind in this top 100 because you have something against defenders, but I've got Darcy Moore in 21st.
Right. I won't tell you where he is for me. I'll let you explain why you put him in that position.
Darcy Moore, I think, got to really shine, and some people would have him as maybe the top key defender in the league or in the top 1 or 2. I have him just below that, and I think he really is able to shine in such an elite Collingwood system with the strongest defence in the league around him, which allows him to come off his man whenever he wants and intercept, and then stay on his man when that's sort of easier for him. And he is an incredibly talented and smart defender, and which is why I've got him in the top 25. But I don't have him as one of the top 1 or 2 keybacks in the league, which is, I'm sure, where you have him.
Now, as much as you might be like, oh, he doesn't like defenders, doesn't like anything, I'll put him higher, and we'll get to that soon. In 21st, I've got one of the players I absolutely love to play at the Swans, like any one of these top 25, but I've got Luke Davies-Uniacke in 21st. Honestly, a guy that if North are going to get out of 17, they're going to rely heavily on this guy. He wins a lot of ball in a midfield that really struggles. I think Clarkson's going to look to him, and I think he'll definitely be able to get the most out of him.
I love that as a smoky call. He is, when I said Connor Rosie's smooth, Davies-Uniacke's up there as well for one of those just smoothest movers in the midfield, and he's tough. Now, going on to number 20. I've got Tom Stewart.
Okay. I don't mind the call.
Does he
I'll just say
25?
mine quickly. I've got Tom Green in 20th.
Oh, so very close.
So we'll move on from Tom Green.
Okay.
I'll just, with everything that you said, I 100% agree. Be a huge player in the future. Tom Stewart, I had in 35th actually.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that. Tom Stewart is incredibly consistent. Is that 4 All-Australians in 5 years? I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Or 5.
I think so.
Yeah, he's just so reliable. He's one of those players where if he was put in the midfield as a rookie, he'd probably be one of the better midfielders in the league. And if he was put as a small forward, he'd probably be one of the best small forwards in the league. He's just a really good athlete, really smart sportsman, and he does an amazing job for Geelong down back.
Yeah, I don't mind the call at all. In 19th, I reckon you've probably got him a bit higher, just because I feel like you're a bigger fan. But I got Patrick Cripps
Okay.
in 19th. The captain of Carlton finally played a final. And the way you're looking at your list right now, I don't think you're going to have him in your top 25. But
Yeah, I've got him in 28.
28th. Why? I feel like a guy that, again, can really, if he plays well, maybe you can see a bit of inconsistency in his game, in like the way he plays. Sometimes he's incredible, sometimes he's not. Maybe that's your view, but I think just when he is on,
Yeah.
he is so unbelievable and hard to play against. I think untaggable when he's properly in and focused on the game.
I think that's fair enough. There's not many blokes in the league that are better leaders of men when it comes to leading by example. He goes in as hard as anyone, and he's a superstar. I think there's a lot of guys would get to the level of, I don't know, prestige that he has, winning a Brownlow and being one of the real superstars of the league, and maybe not have that same grunt that he still has. So he's a very impressive player.
And who did you have in 19th?
I have Jack Sinclair, who
Jack Sinclair.
I know that you're the president of Jack Sinclair's fan club, so we'll hear about him later.
I won't say anything.
Maybe
yet.
I'll let you talk about him later, but Jack Sinclair goes without saying.
100%.
One of the best players moving out of the back of the field.
The only thing that I'm annoyed about is he's not higher in the list.
Yeah.
But we'll come to that later. In 18th, I got Tuke Miller.
Okay.
This guy is like the epitome of consistency. Honestly, I don't think he plays a game and is ever out of it.
Yeah.
You sort of, whether he's tagging a guy, he's in the game. Whether he's playing in the middle, trying to win the ball, he's in the game. I'll let you talk a bit more about him, but yeah, one of my favourite players.
I've got him in 30th, and I wish I put him higher. I think there's a bit of recency bias in my pick in his sort of injury towards the end of last year and not playing at his absolute best, but he is probably the best at what he does when it comes to two-way midfielders.
Yeah.
You look at maybe him and
unbelievable runner
him
as
and
well.
Callum Mills when he's at his best as the guys that can just run all day, will make the right decisions for you in the midfield, and will get back and
almost
help
won
the
a
defense.
Brownlow 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He was almost involved in a three-way.
I like
tie.
where you've got him. Anyone would be absolutely lucky to have Tuke Miller in their team.
I'll let you go next.
Number 18.
Yeah.
I've got Harris Andrews.
Wow.
And
I'm actually a big fan of Harris
Yeah.
Andrews, which I'm a little. I'm just gonna let you explain because I'm a little disappointed where I've got him.
Yeah, Aiden actually turned me into a Harris Andrews fan because I didn't appreciate him as much as I should have, and then you started letting me know when Brisbane was playing, like, look out for Harris Andrews. This guy you just can't get anything past him.
I can't believe you put him higher than me. I'm a huge Harris Andrews fan.
Yeah, as I just said that you told me, he's extremely impressive. He was just so huge for that Brisbane defence that was unbelievably close to getting across the line in the grand final last year and has just been building and building for years. He's just been one of the staples. So, number 17.
I'm not going to tell you where I've got Harris Andrews. Just going to move on.
The defender hating.
Okay, no. In 17th, I've got Nick Blakey of the Swans. Whether you see that as biased or not, I guess we'll get to you in a second. But honestly, the guy that when he's on, I think he plays well enough of the time, almost cracked the All-Australian. One of the best guys running out of the back, got an unbelievable kick, plays a lot taller than he actually is in defence.
Oh.
Was on against Carlton, played on Curnow for a lot of the time, played on Mackay a lot of the time. Got a massive contract at the Swans, doesn't mean anything, but unbelievable player. I'm intrigued where you've got him.
I've got him higher.
All right, okay, so we'll leave that there.
I've got him higher.
Just by your facial expression, I thought you might have had him a lot lower. I wasn't sure about that.
Honestly, I think that's a fair place to put Blakey where you've got him at this point in his career. Like, that's fair enough, but oh my gosh, is there a more exciting and unique player in the league? I don't think so.
The Lizard.
Is
there another player?
You know what? Just because we're talking so much about him, I'll say now I have him in number 10.
Wow.
We won't make that a pattern of doing that, but I have him in number 10. I just think he's the best player to just tear apart teams coming out of the back half. And when he defends, he plays almost at an all-Australian level as a key back, I reckon. He is that versatile. And sometimes when I get excited about young players from the Swans, I think, in terms of where I see them in the league, is this biased? Nick Blakey's not one of those players.
But is there another player that doesn't actually go by his first or last name? I'm not gonna lie. It's
Liz.
almost weird when you hear a commentator call him Blakey.
It is weird.
It's Liz, it's Lizard. Lizard's down the wing. Lizard's taking a bounce. Lizard's kicked a goal.
And fun fact, I've been watching him play since he was in under 11s playing club footy with my brother. They won 3 club premierships together.
That's cool
For
fact.
the East Bulldogs.
Cool fact, bro.
Yeah. Now, my number 17 was Shea Bolton. And I don't know if you got him top 25 or not.
He's 31st for me, so
Not enough
sitting...
midfield time to make you a top 25.
He took the words right out of my mouth. Definitely. You stick him more in the midfield, get a few more touches. That impact grows on the game. But honest, I don't mind the pick because a guy that I think is a little bit too inconsistent just to put him too high. But I can see his talent can get him there alone. I'll let you speak about him though.
Yeah, clearly one of the most talented guys in the league. He's shown it at in the biggest situations, been huge in grand finals. He's just an absolute star. Now, number 16, who have you got?
I went for Zach Merritt at 16.
Okay.
Now, as I've said before, I like a guy that can put his team on his back and will them to victory. I know we talked about previously, we don't rate Essendon, but we have said also that if Merritt and maybe Parrish gets going, he can take them places. And when you're so reliant on one player and that player does actually perform, that's what I love in a player. And maybe that's why like I said, I'm in love with midfielders.
Yeah, I've got Merritt in 31, and I'm not mad at where you've got him because you look at Essendon gets a lot of criticism, and fairly so, for games where it just feels like they're not putting up their best. And I feel like whenever you have those games, Zach Merritt stands out as someone that's trying to will his team to victories, trying to set an example where others aren't substandard.
I think you've got to think about as well, as much as it's tough to think about it in this way, the people that they've got around him. I think
I don't mind Essendon's personnel.
Really?
I think it's a culture thing.
Because I think they're struggling with a guy to get in and actually win the ball. I think if they had a real bull to go in and win the ball and get the ball out to him and get him going forward and running forward, I think we'd be seeing him as a top 10 player in the league, maybe.
Yeah, rogue call, except early in the year before he got injured, Will Setterfield was sort of doing that. But he got injured for a large portion of the year, and I'm not saying it's the reason why, but Essendon were doing a lot better at the start of the year. So it'll be interesting to see how Setterfield goes with that mix because he's a really exciting player who missed a huge chunk of last year.
Yeah.
So look out for the Essendon midfield.
Who did you have in 16th?
I have someone that I'm assuming you have higher, and I've got Jordan De Goey there.
I don't mind it. Yeah. I have got him higher.
Yeah.
I've got him higher.
See, Jordan De Goey is... I feel like when we get to this stage of the list, you're looking at... You can say for basically any of them on their day, they're one of the best players in the league. So I won't say that all the time now. But Jordan De Goey has an X factor. We know this. And we finally got to see it paid off with a premiership win. All of Collingwood's faith in him. And it goes without saying that he's an absolute stud in the midfield.
Well, yeah, I guess Collingwood, I mean, how I heard the ex-players talking about it, if De Goey plays well, Collingwood win the premiership.
Yeah,
and I'll get onto him a little bit later. Won't be too long, but I'll get onto him a little bit later. Who have you got in 15th?
15th, I've got Clayton Oliver.
This low?
Yeah.
Wow. I won't tell you where I've got him yet, but okay, yeah, tell me why.
I think it's really hard.
Sell it.
It's really hard to separate blokes at this point. But if I had to sell Clayton Oliver at 15, gosh, it's hard to.
Tomorrow, are you Tomorrow, are you going to take? They're going to play 10 games for you.
Yeah.
You're going to take Nick Dacos or Clayton Oliver?
Nick Dacos.
Okay. I just wanted to see because.
Okay.
Well, I thought it'd be a tougher decision.
I'll listen to you sell me Clayton Oliver. No, except he's elite. I reckon. I want to go as far as to say the best runner in the league, but I'm not sure. Apart from maybe Finn McGuinness.
I was going to say this one, Finn McGuinness.
Okay, but he probably deserves a spot in this 25, which we haven't given him. But Clayton Oliver he just runs all day. He's at every stoppage, and every stoppage he just seems to have full energy and just be going at the ball like an absolute animal. So fair enough that you have him higher. It's just there's a lot of good players when we get this high on the list.
Yeah. Tough to separate.
Wait,
actually.
and have you said you're 15?
I haven't yet.
Who's yours?
I have the captain's captain, the premiership winning captain in Darcy Moore, the guy who had the quite possibly the best ever speech
Yeah, good.
that a captain has
yeah.
ever spoken. It was Anzac Day, right?
Yep. Saving the reputation of all footy players across the nation.
I almost hated it because you want to see Collingwood in a bad light, and then you've got this intelligent guy who speaks so well leading that football club, and he's I know it's not to do with his gameplay, but he's changed the view of the club.
Yeah, I think that was the complete antithesis of the classic credit to the boys giving 110% post-match speech.
Yeah, I think he is sometimes hard done by because he does play on a few players and they do kick a lot of goals on him, but he doesn't actually almost play on a defender. He's almost a guy, he takes a gamble sometimes, he goes for that intercept mark, and you'll hear commentators in games all the time, go low to Collingwood, avoid Darcy Moore. He's the guy that you just have to avoid. Unbelievable defender. Honestly, there's only one, I believe it's one defender I've put above him. Yeah, I've put one defender above him, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, I know who that defender will be, and I've also got him above him.
Okay, we'll get to. I'll go to my 14th just because we said it before. Jordan De Goey.
Yeah.
So not too different. I think you had him in 16.
Yeah, so it's
So it's pretty much the same. A guy that can, if he's on, if he's consistent, can win a game by himself. We'll move on.
Yeah.
13th.
My 14th.
14th. Sorry.
And I'd like you to say where you have this guy.
Okay.
Nick Larkey. Where have you got him, Aiden?
Just give me.
Let's have a little pause.
Just give me a second. And I'm really disappointed because I've stuck him as my Coleman for next year as well. One second. I have to find him. He's in amongst the names below. I'll let you just talk about him. I'm going to have a look here.
Before talking about Nick Larkey, I'm going to talk about my co-host. There's a difference between loving midfielders and showing a dangerous dismissal of all other players. And to have, quite clearly, the second or third best key forward in the league, as low as, where have you got him? 47th, which you moved him up 30 places.
I'm not going to comment. He was he was in the 70s, but
yeah, we were discussing some of the non-top 25 players earlier, but I just think this guy's scoring 70 goals on a terrible team.
I'm going to abstain.
What else can you say?
I'm going to abstain from a comment, and we're just going to move on.
Like, imagine if Nick Larkey was on the Melbourne Demons. He probably would have kicked 80-something goals and been the Coleman medalist.
I don't care.
He's an amazing player. Now let's get to number 13. Who have you got?
I went for Zach Butters.
We've got a player in the same spot.
Oh, there we go. We thought maybe
Zach
we'll get someone
13.
there. Take the reins. Go on.
Okay. Zach Butters had another player with an absolute breakout year. When you look at some of the players on this list, like Tim English, Zach Butters has had a lot of hype since he was drafted.
Do you have Connor Rosie higher than him?
I do.
All right.
I do.
All right, we'll get to that then.
Well, we can talk about that comparison because I've got Rosie in 12. So we can talk about that at the same time. I think that they are just as good as each other when I know some people look at maybe Butters getting a little bit more of the ball and so picking up a few more Brownlow votes or being a bit more prominent in that way. But when I look at what they actually do with the ball, I think they're just as damaging as each other. They are just the most exciting young midfield duo in the league. I think it's fair to say. Maybe Warner and Goulden, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that might have a bit of Sydney bias. But Zach Butters is a phenomenal player. Wasn't too far off winning a Brownlow medal, and a lot
of people thought he should have won a Brownlow medal.
Yeah. Well, he won Coach's Player of the Year, which there's
some say that it's actually a better award to win than the Brownlow.
I think it's not a better. Like I'd prefer to win the Brownlow, except it's probably
what's the better word here?
It's like not more prestigious, except maybe show is more indicative of who had the better
performance.
Season. Yeah,
and what coaches are noticing.
Yeah.
Which I think is huge. So we both had. Same thing for me with Zach Butters. I'll move on to 12.
Yeah.
I've got Errol Goulden sitting in 12th.
I think that's criminally low, but I'll let you continue.
Honestly, I know I had him for my Brownlow as well, but when you're the best player in the league in a position, you're going to be ranked quite high, and he's by far the best winger in the league, the best kick in the league, and the way I'm speaking about him now, I can't believe I haven't put him higher. But yeah. I think what I've actually done is I've seen a Sydney player, and I've tried not to put him too high, but he could definitely be high.
You know what's happening here? Can I cut you off?
Yeah, go on.
This is when for my birthday, when I was 8 years old, we'd have a sports day, and my dad would ref really biased for the other team against me. Because
Right.
he didn't want to seem biased to me. This is what's happening right. That is a true story, and that's what's happening right now. You're scared of coming off as Sydney bias, and you've ranked a guy who is the best winger that I've ever seen, and he's 21 years old. A little bit too low, I reckon.
Yeah. Oh, who do you have in 12th then? We'll move on.
Oh, well, 12th for me was Connor Rosie, which we just went over.
And 11th?
In 11th, I've got James Sicily. How about you?
Sicily, I've got a bit higher.
Yeah?
We'll get to him in a second. Absolutely love James Sicily.
Well, I'll let you talk about James Sicily when we get to your
we'll get
pick.
to it
Let's
then.
talk about your 11.
My 11th, I've got Lachie Neale, the most hated Brownlow medal winner in recent times.
Yep.
Still seeing comments on every Instagram post this day. No matter if it's a Gold Coast announcing a signing, Lachie Neale 3 votes.
My most hated since Matt Prittis.
That's true. Yeah, that's true as well. But yeah, honestly,
I think we've discussed this in the past. We take the opposite view. Not that he unfairly won the Brownlow, but that he was robbed of the All-Australian team.
yeah, 100%. We made All-Australian team predictions. He was almost a lock for us.
Yeah.
In that All-Australian, at least the bench minimum.
Yeah.
He was in that team. But yeah,
he's a guy that for the last three or 4 years gets tagged every single match.
Exactly.
Because he's got the best hands in the league. I think it's fair to say.
100%. Oh, without a doubt. The pace
yeah.
that he can receive a ball cleanly and dispose
the
of it.
vision out of the pack to be that quick and to find players just perfectly on the run.
And being his size as well.
He's just so impressive.
It's not easy being that size and to compete with the bigger bodies as well. Deserves a premiership, to be honest. And if my predictions run right, he's going to get one.
Okay. I have Lachie Neale a bit higher, but we've already talked about him enough. But number 10, we mentioned earlier, I've got Nick Blakey.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And we talked about him before.
Yeah.
Who have you got in 10?
I have Charlie Curnow in 10th.
Okay.
Unbelievable player. The only regret I have about the forwards that I've picked is that I haven't put Larky a lot higher. Charlie Curnow, I mean, he almost walked the Coleman medal in a team that was struggling for a big part of the year. Obviously, we can say, look, he played West Coast twice. He scored 20 goals against West Coast, but still a guy that plays 2v1 most weeks, I will say. And without Mackay there being pretty much the only target down there, drawing still the two best defenders. The only time he went quiet was in finals, but in the lead up to finals in Carlton's massive win streak was a big part in dragging them to that part. Also a great field kick, I will say.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that because I have Charlie Curnow a bit higher.
Yeah.
And my favourite thing about Charlie Curnow is I just love a key forward that is good around the ground. You look at the key forwards that are just the most impressive game-changing players. It's Buddy over recent years. It's guys like Buddy Franklin, Jeremy Cameron, and now Charlie Curnow. And those are guys who are not just good winning marking contests and kicking goals and overpowering players. They are players who are also agile and skilled. And like Charlie Curnow,
the new generation of forwards.
Absolutely. And Charlie Curnow represents that to the peak, and is that part of his game is just developing more and more each year.
Yeah. I'll let you go next.
Number 9.
Yeah.
I've got Max Gawn.
Max Gawn, I've got him a little bit higher.
Where have you got him?
I'll say now.
Okay.
I've got him in 6th.
Okay.
I'll let you speak.
Max Gawn, well, I'm completely fine with you having him in 6th. It's very hard to place a ruckman this high on the list because it's very difficult to compare them to, say, midfielders or more agile running players. But Max Gawn is the best at what he does and has been for a little while now.
This guy's a joke. I'm genuinely... He played... I had him in my All-Australian. This guy missed half the season, and I still think he should have made All-Australian.
Yeah. He is just... It's unfair how skilled he is for his height.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking about with Charlie Curnow, like key players who are skilled. Max Gawn is just the epitome of that while also being the most dominant in the ruck.
Athletic as well.
Yeah.
For his height, his size, he can kick a long ball, he can go forward, he can kick goals.
And you combine that with the Darcy Moore style, well-spoken leader. Like he's really got it all.
Yeah. And look, we saw what happened to Melbourne early on the season when he did go down. There was, I think they struggled.
Uncertainty.
Yeah, exactly. They rely on him a lot. And he's definitely delivered.
Yeah, they can chuck him anywhere they need him.
Exactly. I'll go into ninth now. A guy that we talked about earlier, and you said that I'd rank him very highly is Jack Sinclair.
Wow. No.
So yeah, I've got him in my top 10. He's a guy that I know that St Kilda have struggled-ish recently, but a guy that comes off half-back and is the most dangerous guy on the ground in most games. Just from what I see. His unbelievable kick. You can see the way St Kilda play. They look to find him. He's going to guarantee you efficient touches. He's going to guarantee that he's going to find a teammate. I think without Jack Sinclair, you see St Kilda. You'll see a massive drop off from St Kilda if he wasn't to play a game.
Wow.
I don't know. I just love the guys that impact a game, and this is one of them that takes his team. I don't know how to explain it, but he just does a really, really, really good job at his role. And honestly, to me, he's the best at what he does in his role coming off halfback.
You know what? I can't see him being number 9, but I love your passion for him. Now let's get into number 8. Yeah. I've got Lachie Neale, who we've already talked about.
Yeah.
And personally, I'm gonna off podcast. I want to grill you to justify how Jack Sinclair's a better player than Lachie Neale. But who have you got in number 8?
In number 8, I've got another guy that I can't believe you had so low in Jordan Dawson.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about it.
So a guy I know, but I think it has to be taken into account. He's captain of his team. A team that's going to be pushing into finals this year, you'd hope. A team that should have made finals this year. A guy that's transitioned from more of a backline role into being a star midfielder. Unbelievable kick. Big body midfielders in this day and age are not easy to come by.
Can I say something? Can I change my list?
No, you didn't let me do it with Larky. You're not going to do it now. But honestly, the pain we felt when this guy left the Swans.
Oh my gosh!
We knew he had the talent to go and be
still losing sleep.
Exactly, to be a consistent All-Australian getter, a guy that's going to win premierships. I mean, this is the guy the Swans need. I know we're not talking about trades, but a big body midfielder, a leader in there. Wow. I mean, honestly, I don't think 8th an outrageous. I like my position. I have him in 8th.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if in 3 years we're talking about the best player in the league.
Yeah, I don't think that's too large a statement. Now, number 7.
I've gone Clayton Oliver.
Talk.
I'll let you.
Oh wait, can I put him first?
Yeah.
We were meant to do this earlier, but I'd just like to thank the sponsor of this video, being Tesla, and just thank you for your continued support. And go get one if you haven't got one already. Now, number 7.
Yeah, number 7. Clayton Oliver. I talked about it a little bit earlier. You had him a bit low for my liking, to be honest. A guy that maybe you've done it because he missed a significant portion of the season. I don't know what you're thinking, but when he plays, the only reason Petrarca's not sitting on 3 Brownlows at the moment is because of this guy. Yeah. And Petrarca, I know for both of us, is going to be higher, but on this the contested ball, like king, I'll put it there. A guy that can go in, he's agile, he can run with the ball, he can defend, he can go back and win it. He's 2 ways.
Yeah, and there might be all these sort of uncertain questions about his behaviour at the club at Melbourne, but there's no question on his on-field effort.
Yeah, I mean,
his contributions on field.
He almost there was a period of about 2 days where he almost was out the door.
Yeah,
and it was silenced quickly by Melbourne, but that's another story.
But I also think you look at I don't see. It's hard to speculate because we don't know what the specifics are, but I think it's important to keep the faith with good players unless there's something serious. You look at Melbourne's situation right now, they're a team that's severely frustrated because there is no reason that they shouldn't be in the middle of a Richmond-like dynasty.
Well, have you seen what Stephen May came out and said at their best and fairest night?
No.
He couldn't believe that his team didn't actually go and win the finals. He said they were a much better team than Collingwood. Yep. This was him making a speech up in front of their club at best and fairest. That's how highly they rate their own club, and Clayton Oliver's a massive part of that.
I think that's fair enough. When you look at the names on lists, Melbourne are the most impressive. And with back-to-back years going out in straight sets.
Yeah, that's not talked about enough, I don't think.
You look for someone to blame, and I think there's clearly been some off-field issues, and they weren't happy with Clayton Oliver.
Yeah, look,
I think they'll be glad they kept him.
We hope that Clayton Oliver comes back to his best. We're not exactly sure what's going on with him, but we'll move on, and maybe that's another story that we can talk about another point.
I'll talk about my number 7, which is Sam Taylor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I almost cried when you mentioned Sam Taylor. And what did you have him? 20-something? 24?
24.
24.
Yeah, just slipping into the top 25.
I think this guy is the best defender in the league.
Already?
I think he's already the best defender in the league, and I don't think it's particularly close. He is an elite decision maker. You just don't really see him in a place he shouldn't be. And then once he gets in position, he's dominant in the air. He's solid on the ground as well. And he just leads that back line so impressively. And for such a young player, I'm scared of what he'll do this year. And he's a part of the reason that I've got GWS winning the league this year.
I want you to take my 24th place for Sam Taylor on the basis that he missed a significant amount of games this season. I'm just going to say that because he definitely could be a lot higher. I'm not sure best defender in the league shouts yet, because I've still got one guy to come. But it's a decision that we'll definitely talk about throughout the season. So my 6th, we talked about him already, Max Gawn.
Yeah.
Extremely dominant. There aren't too many players like him that can really. I know there are a lot of players that can grab a game but dominate a game. Really, a guy that.
Who was it against this year? It was round 18 or 19 or something like that. He just had the most ridiculous game. 20
plus 30, around 30 disposals, kicked a few goals.
Could have played Gawn in 21 Oz kick guys and they would have got across the line. He was just...
Honestly, it was that good. If he was within 20 metres of a contest, he was coming out with a mark.
Yeah.
It was just... But he does it so often, though, that
And
could have been higher. Honestly, could have been a little bit higher.
And I'm going to talk about a guy that we've already talked about, Errol Goulden.
6.
I have him in number 6,
wow.
And I don't think that should be controversial. The guy is just phenomenal. He kicks the ball like no one else. He kicks goal of the year contenders. He's
got that flair.
He's also incredibly fit and hardworking. And something I really hope we saw in the back half of last year, but we're probably going to have to see a bit more this year with Callum Mills. With Callum Mills being injured for maybe even the first half of the year, which is tragic for us Swans fans.
Does he play more inside, you reckon?
I think we might see a little bit of that, except hopefully with the combination of Taylor Adams coming to the club, James Rowbottom getting to a stage in his development where he can be a full-time midfielder.
We've got the wingers to cover him as well.
Yeah, but the issue is when you look at our experienced midfielders, Callum Mills gone to start the year, Luke Parker is at a stage where I'm quite confident that he'll be spending almost the entire season in the forward line.
Slowed down a lot recently.
Yeah.
I think it may be a Dustin Martin role down forward.
Yeah, and I think his skill set is just perfect to be a forward in the later stage of his career. And I think
just to preface, Luke Parker is Sam's favourite player.
Yeah, that is true. But I don't think 6 is too high for Errol Goulden, and he'll be top 5 next year if he doesn't get injured or nothing goes incredibly wrong.
Yeah.
Now, in number 5, another player that you had only a little bit lower. I've got Charlie Curnow in number 5, and I don't mind you had him in number 10.
Top 10,
just because you're looking at players that are hard to compare with midfielders, and you've still got midfielders around him.
I'm a very midfielder dominant.
Yeah, but Charlie Curnow, I think in both of our eyes, the best at what he does. We've already talked about him. Who have you got in 5?
In 5th, you might not like it that he's this high, but I got James Sicily. Another guy that you are a big fan of. A huge fan. This guy, I tell you, when Hawthorn struggled, this guy still stands up. He'll come up with 30 disposals. He plays. He's actually not as tall as people might think. He plays a lot taller than he is. He's that lockdown and intercept defender. A guy that's going to be efficient. He's going to win you the ball. In my eyes, I don't think there's anyone that does a better job down back than he does when it comes to getting up for a contest, getting down, winning the ball, and then also finding the man with a kick. Incredible kick, incredible ball winner, incredible in the mark, incredible leader as well.
Yeah, James Sicily, absolute gun. And I've noticed we have the same top 4. Or presumably
Presumably we have the same top 4, but we'll see. Maybe it's a bit different.
Who have you got in number 4?
Number 4, I've got Nick Dacos.
I have Nick Dacos as well.
I'll let you take it.
I mean, everything that about Nick Dacos has been said. So I'm trying to think what I could say that would mean anything. But he's just insanely skilled, and you don't really see anyone else like him. It's incredibly exciting to see what he'll do. Usually he gets tagged and still gets a goal in 35, except Finn McGuinness has proved that Nick Dacos is mortal.
Yeah.
So
look, the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah.
This
would
guy
have won a Brownlow if he didn't get injured in the last 3 weeks.
And a lot of people think he still should have won the Brownlow. A guy that we wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years we're sitting here and he's won 5 Brownlows.
And 5 premierships.
5 premierships as well. He's in a dominant Carlton team. He's playing with his brother. He's got a great coach. He's got a young team around him.
It's rarely just the hype for a player.
I think we've got him this low being 4th.
No, that says enough in itself.
That says enough just because he hasn't done it just for long enough yet. And but I wouldn't be surprised if he's first after this year if he does it again.
Yeah, he's just unbelievable. Number 3. I hope there's a bit of change up here, so we can have a bit of discussion. I've got Christian Petrarca in 3.
Okay, I don't.
Who do you have?
I got Toby Green in 3.
Okay, well, I've got Toby Green in 2.
Okay, well, I'll tell you why. Okay, well, it's not too different, but honestly, the season that Toby Green just had, is there another... Can you remember another small forward that's had a season like Toby Green just had? All Australian captain.
I cannot.
They never get recognition as well, the small forwards. It's always the tall forwards, it's the midfielders, and maybe sometimes the key backs. Not for me, but it's never the small forwards. And when a guy, you could play anyone on him, it doesn't make a difference. He's going to guarantee you goals. He's got that aura around him. He can go into the middle. If his team's struggling, he'll go and help down to bring the ball forward. He's going to kick goals. He kicks goals out of absolutely nothing. I can't say. Besides, people have hated him in recent years. Recently, they've sort of come towards him.
Yeah.
But honestly, can't say enough about him.
I've got him in number 2, and I just think it's incredible. We've always seen his talent, but now to see him on such a strong, well-rounded team, and in particular, in such a strong, well-rounded forward line around him, really brings out the best in him, where you cannot afford to just surround Toby Green, because then you're leaving serious threats in Jesse Hogan and sometimes Harry Himmelberg.
Proper GWS fanboy.
Yeah, you're leaving some serious threats without enough attention. So he's being really fed by a really solid midfield, and he's been surrounded by a really solid forward line, and so we're getting to see the best of him, and it's quite something to see. Now,
you're Petrarca at 3?
Petrarca at 3. Tell me about Petrarca.
Oh, well, I put Petrarca at the 1. I've got Petrarca as the best player of the competition.
Wow.
And you know what sold me? It was almost when I went to watch him when he played against the Swans.
Final round of the season.
Final round, and I hadn't seen him play
in a while.
Like actually see him move around the pitch. And as much as you'll see players look at him like someone's got to pick him up, the way this guy just
the Rolls
Royce of midfielders, in my opinion.
That is his nickname.
The way this guy finds the ball, the way that he finds teammates, the way he's known as a bull in the midfield.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it for such a long period of time. And as we said before, if Clayton Oliver didn't exist, he's probably got a few Brownlows.
Yeah. Yeah. You look at Petrarca and Bontempelli as the two guys that just are always there, just having consistent, dominant seasons. And I don't even want to say consistent, because that has some sort of implication that he's not a standout. He's just always there, but he is a standout all the time. If he had a career, I said something about Tom Stewart earlier, that he is just a good athlete, but Petrarca, we've seen the evidence. It doesn't matter where they send him, he's one of the best.
He's also a great cook. I don't know if you've seen his TikTok.
He cooks on and off the field.
He does. Oh my, this guy, have you seen the meals? Okay, no, we're going to into that. Anyways, so you've got Bontempelli at the 1.
Bontempelli I've got at the 1, and you've got him at the 2?
I've got him at the 2, but I'll let you take it.
Marcus Bontempelli, it just... You take the qualities of Patrick Cripps being such a leader that gets in and under and leads by example, but you add to that an incredibly impressive skill set, which Cripps has, but I think just to a different level, and you get Marcus Bontempelli.
I'll say one thing. Finn McGuinness did lock this bloke down. Continue.
I don't know if he did to the same level he locked down other blokes.
I think he did a good job, but then he got bored, so he went to
Jack
player.
McRae or something.
He went to McRae, and then he went to Ed Richards.
To try to rob McRae of his streak, but he still got there.
He still got it, yeah. Can always back him for 20.
But, yeah, Bontempelli is the ultimate Brownlow robbery every single year. He always smiles through it, but I think we're both hoping he gets it this year. He is...
Really?
Really?
No.
I like him. I think he's really, really leading midfield that's trying to carry a team, and
he's let down by the people around him.
Yeah, just the
club. I'll put it the club's fault that this guy isn't playing finals. A guy you want to
who's
see
won a
playing
premiership
finals.
when he was a young player.
Yeah,
but he should be on a team that is competing for the premiership every year.
So yeah, that's it. That's our top 25. Now we're just going to move into the amount of players we have from each team and sort of see if that correlates to our ladder predictions as well. Just if you've got the most stars, you're probably gonna be high ranked on the ladder, but maybe not. We'll have a look. We're probably going to go in order from the least to the most.
Okay, I might be a bit slow there, but so you, I can start off though. I don't have any teams. Every team I've got at least 3 players in the top 100, but the teams that I have with only 3, West Coast.
Yeah.
Were there any others? You go. Well, what have you got on the list?
So the least I've got a team with 2 players, and this might shock you, but it's actually Hawthorn. I've got with 2 players.
That's not what I thought it would be.
So okay. I know we discussed it before, and you
got Sicily and Will Day.
Will Day, yeah.
Okay.
As my 2 players. So Hawthorn's my least with 2 players. Like we said before, a team with a lot of upcoming talent, not quite yet in the top 100. But yeah, 2 players for Hawthorn. I've got 3 for West Coast.
By the way, if Aiden had any respect for players above 6'4", Mitch Lewis would be in his top 100. But who was next?
I had West Coast with 3 players, and then I also had North Melbourne with 3 players.
Okay. I had West Coast with 3 players and North Melbourne with 3 players
so
as
I'm
well.
assuming we've got the same. Kelly, Barras, Allen, Sheasel, Davies, LDU, Larky.
Yeah.
Okay, so great. I'll go on to my next one. So this could be a bit of a surprise for the next 2 that I have with 4 players.
Uh-huh.
I've actually got the 2 Adelaide sides.
I've got Adelaide. I'm trying to think. Do I have Port there as well?
So in Port, I've got 4 players as well. So I'll just go through them quickly. I've got Butters, Rosie, Houston, and Ollie Wines. And then for Adelaide, I've got Jordan Dawson, Tex, Rankin, and Rory Laird. Now that's actually a bit interesting because I think what this shows is they've actually got quite a good base in the team. So they've got a full 22. So it's not just full of stars.
Is that Adelaide?
Adelaide and Port.
I was just going to say that for Adelaide as well. I absolutely echo that sentiment. Adelaide have really, really solid depth and just solid players all over the field, despite only having, 4 that we've put in this list of top 100. The other teams that I have with 4 are Gold Coast and Essendon.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think who you've got in Essendon that has you more than 4.
I'll run you through that in a second.
Okay.
So Whive got Essendon with 5. Okay. I've got a few other teams with 5, which I'll get to in a second. But I had Merritt, Parrish, Mason Redmond, Nick Martin, and Langford, which made up 5 players. I had Fremantle with 5. I'm not going to go through every player. Fremantle with 5. I had Geelong with 5. Gold Coast with 5. Let's see, do I have anyone else? I had St Kilda with 5. I had the Western Bulldogs with 5 as well.
Okay.
Is that different to
what
you've got? Or pretty similar.
All somewhat similar. Nothing sticking out. But I didn't counters make a count like you did. What's next for you?
Next for me, I've got with 6 players. I've got Richmond. Now I think this says a lot about Richmond in that they've got, at least in my eyes, they've got quite a few stars, but the depth is really lacking in this side. Because 6 star players for me, at least in the top 100, has got to be pushing for top 8, and I just don't see them doing that this year. Now, this one's also very interesting considering where we had them on the ladder, but I got GWS with 6 players as well. Now, I'm not sure. I've also got Melbourne with 6 players.
Can I hear who your 6 players are for GWS?
The GWS.
Wow, GWS and Melbourne.
Yeah,
those are my 2 teams with the most players.
Wow. Okay, that's good.
Let's go through this.
GWS. I've got Toby Green.
Yep.
Sam Taylor, Tom Green, Josh Kelly, Canelio, and Kieran Briggs.
I don't even have Briggs, and I have 9 GWS players.
Wow.
See,
What do you have that I don't have?
Add to that, for me, Connor Iden.
Yeah.
I'm going to justify all these. Connor Iden,
Yeah.
third in the league in defensively in one-on-ones, according to the statistics, and the more and more you actually notice him, the more you can see it.
Only
with the eye
beaten by
test.
Quaynor and Harry Cunningham. I will just put that out there.
Look out for the Swans. And I've got Lockie Whitfield and Lockie Ash, who you don't have. And I mentioned this in the last podcast. I think that they just contribute to an incredible, system of cogs moving forward. And they also support really well in the defence. And then add to that Jesse Hogan. Who
you got him in the top 100?
I've got him in the top 100,
Wow.
and I don't think that... I know that he wouldn't have been anywhere near the top 100
previously. Has he done enough
previously.
for the top 100?
I think he
so?
has. I think he and Toby Green are really taking the league by storm. I think Jesse Hogan's in a situation where he doesn't get targeted as much as he would if he was not with the best small forward in the league. And it does incredibly well as a tall forward, as an experienced player who is really, really makes the most of his skill set, has sticky hands, and is a really good kick.
Okay, I'll give you my
Melbourne.
6 players for Melbourne as well. Obviously, you've got him as a lot more than I have again. I got Christian Petrarca, Gorn, Oliver, May, Lever, and Viney. So what do you got?
I've got those six
I know
plus-
one specific player that I've forgotten in Trent Rivers, which I should have had in my top 100. So I'll admit that. But what else do you have?
I think Trent Rivers is a player that we both like, but a lot of people would not have in their top 100, and definitely no one would have had in their top 100 last year.
Definitely overshadowed in that star-studded midfield.
Yeah, Trent Rivers is so solid down back, and I think last season he transformed from someone that was really, really solid to a star. He is super agile and a really good distributor. It's like when they're looking to transition from defense to attack, but he is also almost like a third or fourth key back because he's tall, he's athletic, and he's got really, really good hands and strength in the contest. But other players that I have in Melbourne that you haven't mentioned there, Angus Brayshaw, Bailey Fritsch, and Cozzy Pickett.
I don't mind it. They were all on my short list.
And they're all players who don't get enough midfield time to make your 100. Now, moving on to the rest of your list.
All right, I'll have a look. I haven't got anyone with 7, but with 8 players, I got the Swans. The Swans sitting with 8. So they're next, and then I've got with nine players. I've got Carlton. I've got Brisbane Lions with 9. And then taking the number 1 spot, I've got Collingwood with 10, which sort of matches up with their form over the past year. Is that any different to what you've got?
Yeah, that's quite different. I like it because those are teams that we rate. I think we just have different classifications for what sort of players make the top have the most impact. But I look at the Swans, and as a Swans fan, I only have 6. I'm interested to hear. I've got I'll tell you my 6, and I want to hear who else you have. Yeah. I've got Warner and Goulden.
Yeah.
And Callum Mills.
Yeah. Same.
Tom Papley and Isaac Heaney. Just an elite pair of small forwards.
I've got them as well.
And obviously Nick Blakey. Who else have you got?
So in this 8, I've put Brodie Grundy in as part of the Swans. I know he's.
I apologize for him.
He's not really there. And another one. Look, he just skimmed my top 100, and I know.
Wait, can I try to guess? Because I can't even think who would possibly be there.
Okay. This is a shout that I'm almost backing him in based on what he's done previously.
You're backing in Taylor Adams?
No, I'm backing in Luke Parker.
Oh, you know what? Of course, I love that.
So a guy, I understand he's fallen off recently, but he honestly didn't have a terrible first half of the season, and I think I've got him in 96th. Yeah, I ranked him at 96th, so he's just slipped in there. And I don't think it's too outrageous of a shout. But
I love to hear this. It's refreshing to hear. All I've heard about Luke Parker is my brother telling me that he's washed and that he was in the champion data statistics. He was bottom 25 in the league for the last 4 rounds.
4 weeks. Yeah,
but no, to be honest, we talk about how he'll probably be spending the majority of this season in the forward line, but
It could help rejuvenate his career
yeah,
a little bit.
he was really, really solid in the midfield until those last 5 or 6 weeks. Who knows if he had a niggle or he was just fatigued towards the end of the year. Maybe he'll come out with some explosiveness at the start of this season.
Right, so on to my next one. I told you I had Brisbane Lions at 9 players. I'm interested to know how many you had as well.
I only have 6.
Okay. So I'll tell you my 9 first. So I had Lachie Neale, Charlie Cameron, Zach Bailey, Josh Dunkley, Oscar McInerney, Hugh McCluggage, Cam Rayner, Harris Andrews, and Gideon Coleman.
Is that 9? That sounded like 12.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Yeah, that was 9.
Wow. See, I have quite different players. I have 6, and I've got a couple that you don't even have.
Well, okay, go on.
I've got Brandon Starcevich in there, and did you say you had Joe Danaher?
I didn't have Joe Danaher.
Yeah. So you've got in there 5 players that I don't have.
I am a big fan of Starcevich. He was on the short list, and so was Danaher, but didn't quite cut it in my 100. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you remember. You don't have Dunkley in there either.
Oh yeah, I feel like I have to justify this.
Yeah, I think I've ranked him top 40. I've got him.
He's talked about it publicly on his podcast with Adam that he has with Adam Trelaw, which is a great podcast. That he didn't have the season that he wanted to have. And despite how well Brisbane did, not to be overly harsh, but I don't think his inclusion in the midfield was as big a contributor to that success as it could have been. We know he's a really good player, but I feel like his main strength comes from getting in there and getting the ball, and I don't think he did that well this year. So I don't see any reason that he couldn't bounce back and be a top midfielder this year, but I just think with the competition with midfield players that just win the ball like it's nothing, I didn't quite have Josh Dunkley there.
Yeah, it's a fair justification. I guess he's a midfielder, so he's in my top 100. He wins a lot of ball, so yeah. My top team was Collingwood with 10 players. Interested to know how many you had for Collingwood as well.
I had 8, so they were my third most.
Okay, so there's one I'm disappointed. I know you don't have him. I'm really disappointed you don't have him because I know you're a fan of him as well, but I'll get to it.
And is this the one I had money on for the Norm Smith?
It is the one you had money on for the Norm Smith. So
and should have won it.
Nick Dacos, Darcy Moore, Jordan DeGoey, Jack Crisp, Josh Dacos, Brandon Maynard, Nathan Murphy,
Braden Maynard,
Nathan Murphy, Isaac Quainer, Brody Mychek, and Tom Mitchell. Tom Mitchell being the one you thought was going to win the Norm Smith. I'm very surprised he's not in your top 100. I know you're a big fan of him. And obviously he's a midfielder that gets the ball, so he's in my
I think
top
that's
100.
fair enough to have him in the top 100. I got to say, a couple of picks that have perked my ear. Oscar McInerney.
Yeah. Look, I guess it is hard to judge a ruckman, but a guy that I feel at times is very dominant in the ruck. A guy I know he's a little unorthodox because he looks like he's quite uncoordinated when he's playing, but he's got the iconic punch out of the ruck. Like he put the ball 30 meters forward. He's always in a contest. The Big O. He did just make my 100, but I think he's justified it just by how he services the Brisbane midfield.
Okay, the one that I think that's fair enough. The one that I particularly disagree with is Brody Mychek.
Okay. Look, this one is hard to justify.
You haven't got Joe Danaher in there, and I think that makes it pretty difficult to justify.
Yeah, I'll have a crack though. So I think he just plays a role really well in a Collingwood forward line that does play very small. I think being a target, and he's not the tallest guy. I think he's 6'5", which is quite tall, but if you're looking at a proper target inside forward, he's not the tallest player. And to do it on his own when there isn't actually many other targets down forward, when he's going to be marked by the tallest key defender on the other team, to still play a role and come up with goals and create, I think justifies him also with the premiership. So I am sort of riding Collingwood a bit just off their recent season, but just the impact that he has playing such an important role, bringing the ball to ground for Collingwood small. It's going to be even more important this season with the incoming of Lockie Schultz and they got Elliott and Bobby Hill.
Yeah, you know what? I actually don't mind it at all. I'm such a big fan of effort players, and one of my big philosophies as a footy fan is, and I think this is one of the Sydney Swans' big philosophies as a footy club, is it really doesn't matter who your personnel is. If you are a cohesive unit with the same goal and you are just putting in effort you're going to be okay. And Brody Majacek brings effort, and he brings that just constant attitude.
So I've swung your opinion.
He's not in my 100, but
Okay.
I think it's fair enough.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's all we got time for today. We're gonna wrap it up here. Once again, if you guys have got any ideas of what you want us to talk about, I know AFL season's come to an end. We're going to try to get as much content in as possible. We are going to look towards the football being soccer. I know in this country it's soccer, but we're going to call it football. We're going to look towards the football season, some other sports as well. There's a lot to talk about. We want to cover a lot of different topics. We want you to tell us what you want us to talk about. Like, subscribe, let us know, and see ya.